So I was asked by Elior Martin to make a clip about the Vilna Gaon and Bina L'Chavero. So what I decided to work on was the idea of lave. So I looked up now. The word lave comes up in Mishle 48 times, and 7 times is in this parak that we're learning now. So I thought it would be good just to go through the times in this parak that the Vilna Gaon mentions lave, and to try to put it all together. And then I could hand you out this little sheet I made, which is the clip. I could get feedback if anyone wants to give me. So the first pasuk that we're going to look at today is in Tesvav Yud Gimel. Tesvav Yud Gimel. And it's interesting. I think we said that before, that Rav Victor Miller translates lave as the mind. Right? But it's really much deeper than that, because we know that there's 3 parts to a person: nefesh, ruach, and neshama. The neshama is in the head, and the ruach is and the nefesh is in the liver, but the ruach is in the lave. And the lave really encompasses the emotions, as we'll see. So that would work with Rav Victor Miller. So let's start with Tezvav Yud Gimel. So it's a good way to start, because libo sameach, lev sameach, yitav panim. Ba'atzvus lev ruach. Now I'll tell you a nice story that happened to me this morning at the coastal. I said good morning to somebody, and like a few minutes later, he comes up and says, "Do you know me?" I said, "What? You're another Jew? Good morning." I smiled at you, and he was like so taken aback. Like it really made his day. Gave him a hug afterwards. But the point is that when a person is happy, it shows on his face, right? And the happiness stems from the lave. And this is what the Gra really says over here. He says, "Leiv sameach, misha libo sameach ba'amalo." Right? He's not sameach because Rav Leff always tells the story about a 5-pound steak. He was on the plane and a guy stands up and he says he had like a big plaque. He got an award for eating a 5-pound steak in the restaurant. So that, okay, he was quite happy about it. He was also maybe on drugs. But so Mishle was saying about Amalo that you did something really important with your life, right? Like you're helping collars or hosting a Mishle shir or doing other things to help people, whatever it might be. And that's could give a person really simcha, and that expresses itself on the face. So Yita Panavshalo. You could see it in their face. I was by Rav Orbach today, and one of the things I enjoy most about going now, I used to see him in Rav Yaakov Hill's yeshiva, but now I have to travel all the way by Vagan. It's like an hour there, an hour back. But just to see his face, just like glowing. It's like Roshel Zalman Orbach also. You see somebody whose face is glowing with joy. And he never had any children. Now he remarried his granddaughter. His wife's he was married to his daughter, and now he's married to his granddaughter. So I guess it's his niece. He married his niece. And they have 8 children, Baruch Hashem. But you can just see his face is always glowing with joy. And that's because the heart is happy what it's doing. What's the opposite? Is that when you see a person look very sad, it's because his ruach is necheh. It's necheh in Hebrew, I believe, is like an invalid. Ki yishtokikis ha'adam lemitzvah lasos o shar davar. It comes from his ruach, the person's drive and desire to do things. Like you said before, libo atzuf. Yeah, person who has a sad heart, his lave is perish shavura. What's it? Yeah, right. Dikayon, they call it dikayon. Shruach, but tzeira ruach called davar ve'eno sekla. Okay, and okay, we're going to leave it. He ties this to Torah. But that's the point. The point is that really the first level here is the face. Really tell if a person is happy by their face. And if you see someone who looks down, like this person at the coast this morning, like he looked really down. I just smiled at him. And he came up to me. He's like, "Do I know you?" It's just, I was a little sad. But like, there's a Gemara that talks about smiling at people, and I give a Mishle shir. So he understood. Baruch Hashem. Okay, so that's leiv sameach. That's the first thing. That's the outer expression of a heart which is happy about what you're doing in life. It's your face. Okay, that's the first level. The second level, the next pasuk is Yudalid. Leiv navon yivakish das. Piksilim So once your lev is sameach, it's ready to go. It's like charged up. So now we can be mavakish das. That's what the Gra says here. Pasuk Yudal. Mishle libo navan mavakish o das. Lasiga rots lasik. Always looking to understand more, to get more perceptive, to understand life more. Other areas of Torah, of understanding of people, of binam l'chaver. We have a very big schos every Tuesday. My friend Rabbi Tzia Kermeyer comes into our call and gives a share. Today, like he just spoke about the second bracha Shemona Esrei and a whole idea. What is it doing there? And praising Hashem for His gvura. It just gives you a different outlook. We daven so many times Shemona Esrei. There's a book, by the way. It's called "Oh, Praying with Joy." Okay, I wrote it. But it helps you. Somebody asked me, "What's Praying with Joy? What's it about?" I said, "They go from the beginning of Tefillah till the end of Tefillah and explain it." So always try to look for new things. The Gra says earlier, it's Pasuk Yud, Perek Yud, Pasuk Daled. It says, "Gam below das nefesh lo tov." If you don't have understanding, you're not happy because life is just full of things that you're doing with no meaning, just meaningless. Once you start to begin to understand the depth of what's really going on, then you'll enjoy life much more. So that's Leiv Novan Mavakish Das. But the flip side, again, all of these sukkah, we have a flip side as well. Peak Silim Yira Ivelis. The person who's Exil, and we said Exil is someone impulsive. He's not looking to get Das, just looking to do things as fast as possible. It's not enough, says the Gra, that his heart is always full of impulsivity. Av b'piem shochin tamini valtam. Vehem haroyim shalivelis b'piem shalivelis. To just encapsulate this attribute of Ivelis, just everything about them is impulsive and without thought. One of the big the experience of seeing an Anam Gadol is how they can really think about something, especially if it's a personal aid site. Let's say you really have a very critical problem. You go to Anam Gadol. I remember once we had a very big issue, and I went to Shlomo Zalman Auerbach. He told me the exact opposite of what I would have thought, which was usually the case. And you just have unbelievable, right? How you could take the entire Torah, just apply it to your life, give you guidance and light and understanding. So that's as opposed to the Velas who just constantly saying just the words of one way, you have garbage spewing out of their mouth. Completely ridiculous. So that's the first two things. So you have simcha on your face and also inside your das. This third pasuk we've seen so many times. We'll see it again. We're doing a review here, which is Kol Yimei Ani Royim Heim. It's pasuk Tesvav, right? And there's also the Ramah quotes this verse as the source for Purim Katan, which is coming up. Where are we holding now? Kislev, Tevish, Vadadar. Tevish, another 3 months it'll be Purim Katan. And Purim Katan is a very big thing. Some people give Shalach Manos on Purim Katan, and there's no Megillah. But the Ramah brings this pasuk, and the idea is that the Gra says, "K'mo she'amar Chazal, Ezu Asher Hasameach b'Chafko." To be really happy, let's be happy with what we have. Imkena ani himishu shanav shorachava. The person who was ani is not the one who has not a lot of money in his bank. Right? Could be he's very happy with what he has. It's the person who wants. Chazal call it nefesh rechava. Means you always want more and more and more. Shenim stop b'kol hashilo. B'kol chalodoma. A person could have, $50 billion. It's actually more difficult because if you have money, you want more time. If you have 50 billion, you want 100 billion. Although Bill Gates, I think, had a chiddush a few years ago to give away 99% of his money. And he'll be left with only $100 million or something. So, but where is he giving it? That's a different question. We haven't received anything yet in our call. But the point is that if you want a lot, you can't be happy because you never have, everything you want. But if you're happy with what you have, then you're really going to be happy. That's what he says here. And that's Ki ein efshar sheyaseh kol chefso. A person can never have everything he wants. Ain't not amazed when it's supposed to be other. Nobody leaves this world with half of their desires fulfilled, unless you have no desires, or your desires are just to help people all the time, right? So guess you just want to help more and more people, but that's really a good desire to want. On the other hand, tov leiv Mishle tamid. Misha mistapik b'mashi yeshlo, right? If we would do this pasuk every week, it wouldn't be enough because it's so important. Somebody who's happy with what he has, so that's called tov leiv, right? And we saw in other psukim, it's only possible if you clean out your heart from jealousy and desire and honor, all the things which clutter up your heart. You got clean it all out. So what's he like, says the Gra? Kamo ish asher mishte. So he has a big party going on. Shalibo sameach be'eshuv shasig, and he's drinking some very fine wine. He's very happy. Ad sha'az afilu melekain shavla. He's the king of the world. Ah, after hafigo yeno, ain't b'simchas shayitko. When the wine wears off, like hopefully, like there's no, what do they call that? What's a nice way to say it? What? An hangover. Inebriated. When a person's inebriated, something's come out. Like vomit. Let's say, right. So hopefully you don't have that, right? But he's and the wine's gone, and he looks around, and everyone's gone home, and it's this big mess because everybody broke, plates and stuff. Hopefully they didn't break the windows, but so everything's gone. So he's not happy anymore. Masha Ein Kain, says the girl, Hatov Leiv, who tamid sameach be'esimchas hashasei. He can maintain this level of joy for the person who likes in the Mishnah at all times. Because he doesn't need the party. His whole life's simcha. Because everything he does makes him happy, or her. Right? So this is really like a very worthwhile goal. Right? And the way you do this, the Gra says in other places, is to get rid as much as possible as all the things which are cluttering up your hearts. All of these attributes which just make you selfish. My Rebbe brother used to say there's a lot of fish in America. There's tuna fish, there's salad fish, but the most popular one is selfish. Yeah. So if you get selfish and you say, I just want to make other people happy all the time. My Rebbe Shlomo Auerbach was real Auerbach, just all the time. I called him up today because I got a shaila. How does a soldier light candles at Gaza? They told me what they do. They sleep in a circle, like 30 guys with guns and 30 in the middle. Then they wake up in the middle of the night and they switch. Right? Can they light Hanukkah candles like in that circle because that's their house? He said, if they're married, then their wife lights them. If they're not married, they're putter because that's not your house. But like when I spoke to him, he was like in pain that these young men and 65 have died already, like just like be crying. 66 is terrible. She's crying her eyes out, and they don't care. Like, who told me this? What's this lady who comes from something? What's it next to you? What's it? Shuli. She said one mother was interviewed and she said, like, I want all my children to the Had Hashem. God, I think it's Hashem, what a tragedy. And the world, is demonstrating these poor, oppressed nation, okay, if the world is crazy, what can you do? But within this insanity, there's hope, and to be happy, whatever happens, right? Tov leiv. And the more your leiv is tov, and I wrote here, I'm going to give these out now. I really took a composite of all the psukim that the Gra talks about. It's a little clip that we're doing for Elior's organization. Anyone has ours, you can look it over. But that's the point. I made a 3-step process. The first step, though, is you have to clean out your hearts, and then you're happy. And then the second step is acquiring knowledge. And then really the third step is you start becoming caring about people. And when you hear people's, and that's why Gedolim, you see, the Gedolim like really hear people's problems. They really feel for them because their life is completely clean. It's completely clean and totally open to hearing people's problems, number one. And number two, they could just come. I was once at a Purim Masib, actually. It wasn't Purim Masib, I once visited Rosh Eli on Purim. He must have had 100 people in his apartment. And everybody was screaming, yelling. And he was talking to me like nobody else was there. Someone just told me, yesterday or 2 days ago, he was at a chasana, and he asked the question to Rav Asher Eli, and they have a minute in chasanas. Rav said there shouldn't be lashon hara, so they play the music at 250 decibels. So chas v'shalom, there shouldn't be lashon hara. So he said, "Come out, we'll talk about it." But he was sensitive. I want to hear what you have to say. I tried to give Rav Asher a copy of Yedidya on Purim for his wife. She teaches in seminaries. And he said, I can't take it, I'm walking. So the next day, wife gets a phone call, Rav Asher called up and said, your husband over me, I really want his book, we enjoy his things. This Adam Gadol could really focus on people, and that's as hard as clean, right? People whose hearts are flooded up. And there are people out there who are just faking it, They want cut. Rav Yirmiyah Kaganov told me once, he said, so and so, I like being a Rav because you get a lot of honor. People stand up for you, and it's a lot of honor. I enjoyed that, It's not a good thing because just like there's honor, there's also Jonas, but it's not a good reason to be a Rav, right? The more we clean our hearts, the more, number one, we're going to be happy. Number two, we'll be able to really learn properly and absorb information. Number three, we'll be real people who hear about other people's difficulties and really feel for them because our heart is open and not cluttered up with our own issues. Okay, so that's totally Mishle Tamid so far. So far, so good. Let's jump now to Pasuk Chaf Aleph. Tesvav Chaf Aleph. This is all review so far. The Gra says like this. Very connected to Pasuk Yud Dalet. Let's see here. Okay. It's really the opposite. Before we said that the person gave Samet upon him, Leiv Novan Yivakish Das, and P Ksilim Yurivelis. Here's the flip side. What about the Yivelis? He's happy that he has no heart. His heart is cluttered up with his own desires and his own. He says, once in a while he might do something stupid. It happens. I told you 3 big mistakes and 5 small mistakes every day. His mutter, right? That's what Adam Gadol told me. So you make mistakes. The more stupid it is, the more happy he is. Like that's the unfortunate plight of the Yivelis and Exil. The Ish Tzvuna Yasher Leches. Sameach Shim Sederach Yishara. What makes a person who has a Leiv Tov happy? The Pasuk Ish writes in his letters. It's the Geras Gimel. He says, what makes me happiest in life is someone comes to talk to me and leaves happy. And what makes me saddest in life? When someone comes talking and leaves sad. Right? And that's right. If he can give somebody good advice, he's very, very happy. Shim Sederach Yishara. So that's again, the person who has a Tov Leiv, he's Sameach, he's Mavakish Das, he's Yasher. Right? All of these, he's a Sameach Tamid, Kavishtet. All of these really, really wonderful attributes, and it all starts with cleaning out your hearts. Right? And we spoke about last year by Pesach. It's Pesach cleaning, and then there's Purim cleaning. Okay, we have a long time, really, even until Purim cut. Tu B'Shvat, you have 30 days. So Tu B'Shvat is what, 2 months? More than 2 months, right? 2 months and a week. So you have a long time before Purim. But look, I'm speaking to a lot of Gedolim, and I spoke to Rav Safrani 2 weeks ago, and he said 1 month down. So the Zohar says there's 9 months of heavy Arab oppression before Mashiach comes. Is this it? I don't know. It seems pretty bad. But you never know when the 9 months starts. They said 1 month down, right? So I don't know. Maybe he has inside information. Well, look, we hope that we're on the way. And the truth is, the best thing that we could really do is to clean out our hearts. We spoke about this before. Because in order for the Gula to come, there needs to be a place for Hashem to rest. And Hashem doesn't rest in the base of English, right? The Pasuk says, that first there has to be in our hearts, and then there's the base of English. So the more we clean out our hearts, the more room there is for the Shekhinah to come, and that will expedite the Gula. Right? So this is really what we should be doing. Okay, everybody's saying what we should be doing, but I'm allowed. I'm on trying time and allowed to state my opinion. So, and you came to the shir. That's what I'm suggesting. If you learn the Vilna Gaon, this is what he says. You know? And the Gemara says the most reason a person comes to this world is to change a midah. Right? We all have that one midah, which like is really. I told this story before on Yom Kippur. Like I started opening up Svarim, and each one said the same thing. I said, "Oh my," like I really have that midah, like it's in your face, really. So we all have that one midah that we really have to work on, and that's why we're here. And that helps clean our heart. Once we get rid of that, that's really the primary, um, dust that we have to get rid of. Okay, so that was Chafal. The next pasuk is Chafkas. We're moving along here, and this is the last one, a review. I believe we did it last week. Uh, we did it last week, yeah, but we'll do it again. Leiv Tzadik Yegel Anos. Pirushoim Biro. So we're learning everything about a person who has a toe blade. And another attribute is the way he speaks, the communication, because speech comes from the heart. Emotion comes from the heart. So in the first pasuk, and speech comes from the heart. And the Gra says, pasuk Chavches, Tezvav Chavches, right? Shat Tzadik Ein Papiv Man Sheker. There won't be one word of sheker coming out of the Tzadik's mouth. He thinks very carefully how to speak. There shouldn't be even the slightest implication of something not true. They don't know how they speak. Just spewing with evil and impulsivity, all the bad things. As my Rebbe, Rav Shlomo Bro, said about one president, I won't mention whose, you'll all figure it out. He said, every good attribute is possible to have, he doesn't have. And every bad attribute he's possible to have, he has. I won't tell you what it is, but I think his wife is supposedly running for an election, so you could extrapolate. But the point is that speech is very critical. I was speaking to a young man today who showed up today for this month 5 weeks late. Very good excuses because couldn't travel, and then there was a wedding. And he said like there was a 2-week gap in between. He didn't think it was worth it to come back and to leave. And I said, not okay. Look, you could say maybe it was a lot of effort, but don't say it's not worth it. Not worth it. The Gemara talks about somebody who's called the Bar Bei Rav B'Chad Yoma. He walked, I think, 3 months or 3 months to get to a shir for one day, and then he walked home. 6 months of traveling for one day. Bar Bei Rav B'Chad Yoma. They used to call him the Bar Bei Rav B'Chad Yoma. I'm sure when he was walking, he was also involved with, deep Talmudic thought. But don't say it's not worth it. You have to use your words very, very carefully. I always say, Shmuel Kamenetsky, if you want to know how to speak, call him up. You should be good. But choose every word. The Gemara says about Rebbe, he was serving tongue. They were serving tongue at the meal. He, like, with his fork, people were looking for the soft tongue. He said, you should talk like that also when you speak to people. And for some reason, I tend to elicit like a certain type, like bad side of some people. I'm a little bit too persistent. I called Orbach back up, and I wanted to ask more questions. It was already after his hours. He didn't hang up on me, but he was very polite about it. You have to know where to draw the line, but be very, very careful how you speak. And this part, how do you do that? Right? It's coming from the lady. There's some people, it's one of the things I hate about traveling on a plane, all these people there, and some of them, the language today is just so it's terrible. The way people speak, like every other word is just a terrible word. Like, why is that? Because the world today is filled with so much impurity. And when your heart is filled with impurity, you almost lose your free choice. You lose your free choice, and your speech becomes disgusting. You go back 100 years, so I'm not that old, but even growing up, at least forward thinking. So it gets worse every time I fly. Because they're exposed to it, right? But like when I come back from chutzlars. I go to the bookstore and try. I want to buy a book, Timothy Chafron. I can't buy his books anymore because it's filled with foul language. And somebody wrote a book, it wasn't filled with foul language. I wrote him an email, thank you for writing a book that you could read. Uh, what? It was not, but it was a wonderful book. And actually, we wrote about 10 letters back and forth. Right? He wrote a book called The Gift of Struggle. He grew up as like a migrant farm worker and a Mexican, and now he's a CEO of a major company. And talked about how difficult his first 18 years was for. Then he's in the army, and he realized it's a gift because everybody's struggling. He can adapt. And like there wasn't one foul word in the whole book. I quoted him. I said, "Thank you," and I gave 8 shirim on his book. I said it was incredible. But you don't see that today in books like that. That comes from um, the heart. When the lave is full of impurity, express itself in the words. When the lave is clean and happy and full of wisdom, you speak in such a way. So forth. You see even great speakers of old, you see they spoke in a dignified way. Anyway, what can we do? Let's go on. Next pasuk, which is really we're up to pasuk lamed. Ma'oreinayim yismat lev, shmua tova tidashin etzem. It's a very important pasuk, right? And the Gemara in Gittin actually uses this pasuk to say that when you hear good news, your bones become fat. Yes, be honest. He put his shoes on. He told him he was the Kesar. Your bones become fat. And Chazal tell us is that Simcha has the I don't want to call it biological, physiological property. It makes things expand, right? That's the property. And Tsar, the Lashon Tsar is like Lashon narrow. I mean, not Meitzar Krosika. It's narrow. So, Mo'orinayim Yismach Lev, a beautiful view, right? Or a beautiful picture, like this painting over here, beautiful painting. You see it. It makes you happy. It makes your heart happy. But if you hear something, good news, right, that makes your bones sleep. Says the Gra, Kima'ariya Tova Tavu Simcha. It brings to heart. Aval Shma Tova Tidashin Gam it's greater. Rabbeinu Yonah actually brings this in Shai Tshuva, right? It's the Rebs used to talk about the difference. You read a Sefer and you hear a Shir. Now, he said, hear somebody live, is more powerful. Okay, so today there's a lot of Zoom share. People are like, why should I leave my house if I can hear Zoom? It's more powerful live, but even if it's by Zoom, it's more powerful than reading a Sefer. The Mesil Yesharim, the Ramchal, had a koyach. He had the ability to write like he spoke. So you learn that Sefer. But in general, it makes more of an impact. Okay, we're going to skip the rest because it's not connected to our topic today. But we're going to do one more pasuk about the lave, and then we're going to finish the parak. And Bezrat Hashem. So we'll move on. Okay, the last parak last pasuk in this parak about lave, it's appropriate. It's pasuk lamed beis, lave. It says, Porea Musar Moz Nafsho, V'Shmua Tova, Shemei Tzachos Kona Lave. Porea Musar, the word Porea really means, like when a sota, you mess up her hair, right? That's called Porea. Somebody who disregards or disgraces Musar. So he's disgusted with himself. But someone who listens to Tchacha, he's calling late. Now it's not easy to hear Tchacha. No one likes to hear negative things about themselves. I was talking to a certain older single, and a certain shidduch I was trying to set up, and the girl had a certain question. He was so offended by it, by the question. Maybe I should have more tact. It's always true. But we have to learn how to hear negative things about ourselves, right? Even if there's a small element of truth to them, and be accepting and happy about it. Who was it? Rav Tzvi Pesach Frank. He once got a letter that was scathing. It was scathing. And he was Mishle, a gadol. Someone sends him this scathing letter. And he did? He kept it in his drawer. Every Motzi Shabbos he took it out and he read it. And when the guy died, he went to his little he said, I'm so grateful to him. I grew so much of this, this Igeris. I told someone today, I once saw an article. It was about somebody who left all his money to save the whales. Save the whales. $1 million left. It wasn't all his money, it was half his money. And the shaila was, are you allowed to change it to give it to poor people? Or people are, so Eli Melech, the chassan, he had, the first time I think he said, if you give it to Talmud Chachamim, it'll be better for the whales. It's better to give it to save the whales. But we're in the Swiss the whale, save the whale. He gave $1 million to save a whale. The big fish, they're mammals actually. Anyway, so Eli Melech Bloch said, give it to Talmud Chachamim and they'll learn and switch the whales. Anyway, but the point is, since it wasn't really, the circumstances said that he could change it, right? So I wrote this in an article, and somebody writes me a scathing letter back. They printed a rebuttal with somebody with tubes attached to them. And Rabbi Travis ignores last wish of dying, farther, and they tore me to pieces and this and so I got this article and the guy writes to me. He says, "You're immoral and unethical." And I wrote back and I said, first of all, I want to thank you for writing to me. A lot of people realize there. And then I said to him, I said, maybe I'm a mistake. I'll go back and ask the right tomorrow. I asked him again. And he said, he said I was right, but look, when you come to a speak to him yourself. Turns out this guy was the head of a major company. So it was financially beneficial to act that way. But the point is that, okay, it's always good to hear things that you can work on, even if it's only 1% true, right? But you grow from it. So that's what the Shalom Melech is saying here. Shomea tochachas tiknet. Oh, sorry. Shomea tochachas konalev. That's how you really acquire a heart, right? Because it all starts with cleaning out your heart. So if someone tells you you have a tendency to get angry, talking about you're just angry. Okay, so there you go. So you right, I do get angry. Does the easy, but Daddy, I'll try harder next time. Who was it? The Sab Mikel had a code. He used to go upstairs to get angry. So that's Shemei Tachos Konalev. Says the Grog. Kfar Kasafti Musar. What's Musar all about? This is not a popular definition. Mashi miyaser es atzmo b'shvil rasim kona. I don't use the word afflict. That's not popular in 2023. What can we say? What's socially acceptable? I don't want. Can't say afflict today. What? What do you work? You work on yourself. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Developmental. Whatever. Okay. So, adaptation. So, Musar. That's Musar. Right. So, Musar. Alan doesn't like Musar. He's in trouble. Right. Because you need to have Musar. Says Ugra. Right. Sometimes you have to let go and just do it. Just forget about your own ratzon. Okay. Musar, it's with your action in your body. But to who? You get off the wrong track. But dibor. Right. See, Musar is when you really I don't know. Sounds like you even hit somebody. Right. That's for sure. You're not allowed to do that today. If you hit your kids, they'll call the police. But Dibor, Tochach is with Dibor. But to is who? Later base at Leilach. Somebody tells you something, you should listen to them. Korea Musar Mos Menasho. Sheina Kodesh Baruch Hu Ozer Etzono. Right? But Shomei Tochach Konalev, Ki Yodis Be'ezet Derech. Ayizesh Yishma Tochach. Here's the Tochach. Now, Tochach could come from a friend, it could come from a Rebbe or a Rebbitzin, or come from it usually shouldn't come from a spouse, right? I don't know if you get my emails, but this week the Shiloh was the husband wrote in, and he asked Rav Safrani, he said, my wife has so many problems, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to start with. He said, it's so funny because your wife called me 3 days ago and said the same thing about you. So it looks like it's in Ve'agefen. Said, and I'll tell her what I told you. He said, just work on your own problems. If you each work on your own problems, it'll be fine. Right? So you should give tochacha to your spouse. If if you need to say something, call Rav or Rebbitzin, but don't because it's too painful. It's too painful. But you have a Rav, it's easier to hear that. But it's really important. You can't change without the Chacham, and it's painful. It's one of the Memchas Kinyanei Torah. Oh, you have said Tuchachos, right? So it's good to hear Tuchachos, and but the Gemara says nobody knows how to give Tuchachos today. Yes.
God signed another person who wasn't as great as the girl thought. He said, "You're going to be the one to give me Tuchachos," and that's
So do the Magid, right? And he said to him, "So what Musar, what Tuchach you give you the Gra?" He said, "Just move all day and learn. What about the rest of the world?" No. So he said he shed one tear for the Gra. He was effective. He shed one tear, and then he said, "You don't have to look for problems, right? You don't look for problems, but it hit home, right?" The point is that if we really want to grow, you have to be interactive with other people and get their feedback. Oh, that's important. Okay, so that's it. We finished Psukim about Leif. There's two more Psukim about Techocha, and we still have another couple of minutes. So let's try to do that. We'll finish the parak, and we'll go back to Pasuk Lamed Aleph. Ozen Shamas Techochas Chaim, B'Kerav Chamim Talin. The ear, which hears Techocha of life, right, because it gives life, so he will sit with Chachamim. Says the Gra, the benefit to go to a base medrash and to sit there, or even to a shir like this, even a person who comes to a shir on Mishle, where I'm not Roy to give it, but I'm just reading the words of the Gra, so I get away with it. Rav Eli Lapian, by the way, would not say a shmuz or a shir until he felt he was on that madrega. He would work a day, a week, a month, then he would give. Unless he was actually on that level, he wouldn't say the shir. Okay, so there's a toolis for a person to go to a group, right, and to work on themselves, because the ears that hear Tuchachas Chaim from other people, that's the first toolis, and the second one is they're just amongst other people who want to grow, especially if you're amongst Talmidei Chachamim. And this is what Ruth said to her mother-in-law, to Naomi, Ki elasher telchi elech. I'll go wherever you go. Right? So you see this applies to women as well. Ki elasher telchi elech hu b'mitzvahs asay. Shetelech alton is mitzvahs lo tasay. V'zeh ozen shomas tochochas chayim b'kerev chaver tolan. L'bal yavar mitzvahs lo tasay. So lo tasay, mitzvahs asay. That's one explanation. Right? To hear tochacha from even your mother-in-law, that's a big issue. Who's asking their mother-in-law for tochacha? You better watch out, because you treat my son. Anyway, Baruch Hashem. There's lots of great mother-in-laws out there. That's one. V'od. Shebekerav chamim talin b'ol mabah. Right? If you are accepting tochacha in this world, when you get to the next world, you'll be in a really good place. Did I tell you the story? Somebody, we'll leave it for a different time. It's not for now. Okay, one more pasuk, the last one, and then we've completed this parak for Hashem. Okay, Yiras Hashem Musar Chachma L'fnei Kavod Anava. Right, this is a beautiful pasuk. Yiras Hashem is Musar Chachma. Right, how does a person get Yiras Hashem? Through Musar. But L'fnei Kavod Anava. This guy who wanted a lot of honor, he should be more humble, right? Because it says, whoever runs away from honor, well, honor will run after them. So really want honor, be humble. Says the Gra, Yiras Hashem Musar Chachma, Klomer, Yiras Hashem brings a person to Musar. Right, that's one explanation. Second thing is, Ein Chachma, Ein Yir, Ein Chachma. Right? Yir brings a person to Chachma, and Chachma brings a person to Yira. And that's what it says here in this pasuk. Yiras Hashem was Chachma. A person has Yiras own and she's afraid. Bring to Chachma, because you have to know what to do. The Yira should bring you to Chachma. That's the first part of the pasuk. And with this we conclude. L'fnei kavod anava. This is a higher level. There's Yiras ownish, a punishment, but then says the Quran, there's Yiras aromas. That's anava. Who l'fnei kavod? Lamed beis nesivas Chachma Eloi is a Torah. Okay, very high things there. They covered another. Kiras Hashem Musa Chokma Ein Lo Hafra. What does that mean? Does it mean the Yiras Hashem brings to Musa Chokma, or Musa Chokma brings to Yiras Hashem? So what's the answer? Both of them are true. Both of them are true. And he brings a raya from last week's parsha, right? That a person has a nava that will bring him to more Fear Hashem. A person has Fear Hashem, it'll bring him to a nava. Cain Amar Olifnei Kavod, right? Olifnei Kavod anava, right? Person is more humble. It will bring them to kavod, because the ultimate kavod is Yiras Aromis. Yiras Aromis, as opposed to Yiras Onish. Yiras Aromis means you're perceiving Hashem's infinite greatness and living it, right? Your year is not coming because you're afraid of getting punished or something's going to happen to you. It's just because you feel like you're in the presence of Hashem. When you're able to achieve that world outlook, then you'll have kavod, because it's really real greatness. Okay, with that we finish Perek Tezvav, Hadron and Daitalach, and I'll just read one pasuk from the next Perek, which is a very important pasuk. Lana Marachi Leiv Hashem Mani Lashon, right? That the person organizes his heart back to Leiv and Hashem Mani Lashon. We'll see next week. Is that really, you want to speak, you want to say the right thing, but really what you have to do is just set your heart out, right? And then Hashem will put the words. You see, sometimes what? Right. You don't, a lot of times you just don't know what to say. You just don't know what to say. If you just put your heart in the right place, Hashem will fill your mouth up with the right words. So we'll speak about that more next week. And that's the 10th plus we did today, so that's a world record. And everyone should be matzliach. If you have any comments on this sheet, please let me know. And Shabbat Tzlach and Siyat B'Shmaya. We should see the goal very soon. But once again, don't underestimate, even if you could like one speck of like one midah, like one, instead of getting angry in like 5 seconds, it takes you 10 seconds. That's incredible, like whatever you could do on any midah to clean out your heart, that's it's like triple, score now. Like we're in a time when it's just, we're like, it's all in front of us. Everything is happening, right? So really, now is the time.